The Arrow and the Bow, a story of acceptance. In the quiet of the armory, when the warriors had gone to rest, an arrow named Tyr spoke to the bow called Kamaan. "You have been cruel," Tyr said softly. "You held us close, all of us together, and then one by one you cast us into the sky. My companions are gone. I alone remain, and I fear what befell them will befall me." The bow rested against the wall, worn from years of use. "Little arrow, I understand your fear. But tell me, do you think I choose who goes and who stays? You pull the string. You release us." "No," Kamaan said gently. "The archer's hand chooses. I am only the instrument, just as you are." Tyr was silent for a moment. Then, "But surely you can refuse? Surely you can hold me a little longer?" "If I could hold every arrow that has to stay," the bow said, "I would no longer be a bow. I would be a cage, and you would no longer be an arrow. You would be a prisoner. Perhaps I would prefer that to the unknown." Kamaan's voice grew softer, like an elder speaking to a child. "Listen well, Tyr. We do not choose the winds that carry us, but we choose how we face them. The archer draws, the string releases, the arrow flies. This is the nature of things. You cannot change this, but you can prepare for it." "Prepare? How does an arrow prepare for flight?" "By understanding what is in your hands and what is not," the bow replied. "You cannot control where the archer aims. You cannot control the wind. You cannot control the distance you will travel. These things are beyond you. Then what remains?" "Everything else," Kamaan said. "You can sharpen your point through discipline. You can straighten your shaft through reflection. You can steady your fletching through practice. When the moment comes, and it will come, you will fly true because you prepared yourself, not because you controlled the world." Tyr felt something shift within him. "But what if I am not ready? What if the moment comes too soon?" "Then you learn from the flight itself," the bow answered. "Every arrow that flew before you was once afraid. Some flew straight, some curved, some fell short. But each one learned something in the air that they could never learn in the quiver. Experience is the greatest teacher, and life gives us lessons whether we feel ready or not." "It sounds lonely," Tyr whispered. "That is why arrows must learn from each other," Kamaan said. "Before you fly, you rest against your companions. You feel their shape, their balance, their steadiness. When you tremble, they remind you of stillness. When you doubt, they show you strength. And when your time comes, you carry their lessons with you into the sky. But they're gone now. I'm alone. You carry their memory. That is not nothing." The bow paused. "And when you land, wherever that may be, another arrow will remember you. This is how wisdom passes, not through staying, but through going." Tyr looked out through the window at the practice field. The grass swayed in the evening breeze. "I still don't understand why it has to be this way." "Because life is not what we want it to be," Kamaan said, not unkindly. "Life is what it is. The sky does not ask if we are ready. The wind does not wait for permission. The ground does not soften because we are afraid of landing." "That seems harsh." "It is honest," the bow corrected. "And in that honesty there is peace. Once you accept that you cannot control the flight, you stop fighting the wind. Once you accept that landing is inevitable, you stop fearing the ground. You simply fly." "Simply, simply," Kamaan repeated. "Not easily, but simply." You do what an arrow does. You move forward. You trust your shape. You make the most of the trajectory you're given. Tyr felt the weight of these words settle into his grain. What if I land in darkness? What if I miss my mark entirely? Then you will have flown, the bow said. And flight itself is no small thing. Most of what matters in life is not the target, Tyr. It's the quality of your arc through the air, the steadiness you maintained, the grace with which you moved, the truth with which you flew. But the archer aims for a target. The archer aims, yes. But you are not responsible for the archer's eye, or the archer's hand, or the archer's intention. You are only responsible for being the truest arrow you can be. That is your work. That is what is in your hands. A long silence filled the armory. Outside, the moon rose over the valley. Finally, Tyr spoke again. How do I become truer? Ah, Kamaan said, and there was warmth in its voice now. Now you ask the right question. You become truer through practice, by testing yourself in small flights before the great one comes. You become truer through stillness, by learning to rest completely when you are at rest. You become truer through reflection, by understanding your own grain, your own balance, your own nature. I have been so busy worrying, Tyr admitted. I have not done any of this. Then begin now, the bow said. The moment you are in is the only moment you have. Do not waste it fearing the next one. Tyr closed his eyes, if arrows can close their eyes, and felt himself simply existing. His wood, his point, his fletching, the weight of his being, the stillness of the present moment. When he opened them again, something had changed. I think I understand, he said slowly. You cannot protect me from flight. I cannot avoid it. But I can prepare myself. I can strengthen what is mine to strengthen. I can learn what is mine to learn. I can accept what is mine to accept. Yes, Kamaan said. And when the time comes, you can fly with wisdom instead of fear. Will it still hurt? Perhaps, the bow said honestly. But hurt and harm are not the same. You may feel the shock of release, the disorientation of speed, the hardness of landing. But if you have prepared yourself, if you have made yourself ready, these things will not destroy you. They will only change you. And if I am not ready, then you will learn readiness through the flight itself, Kamaan said. This is also acceptable. Some arrows sharpen themselves in the quiver. Others sharpen themselves in the air. Both arrive at truth, though by different paths. Tyr felt lighter somehow, though nothing about him had changed. I wish I could stay longer. I know, the bow said gently. But staying is not living. Staying is waiting to live. And life, little arrow, is not found in the quiver. It is found in the flight, in the wind and the speed and the great unknown arc between release and rest. What if I fall where I don't wish to fall? Then you will have fallen, Kamaan said, and that too is part of the story. Not every arrow strikes true. Not every flight is glorious. But every arrow that flies has lived more fully than every arrow that refused to leave the bow. The night deepened. In the morning, the archer would return. Will you be afraid? The bow asked. Yes, Tyr answered. But I will fly anyway. That, Kamaan said, is courage. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of wisdom alongside it. You do not need to stop being afraid. You only need to stop letting fear decide for you. And if I land in darkness, then you will learn what darkness teaches. And if you land in light, you will learn what light teaches. Both are valid. Both are real. Both are life. Tyr rested against the leather of the quiver, feeling its familiar embrace one last time. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For not telling me it would be easy. For not promising me safety. For teaching me acceptance instead." The bow's voice was soft as aged wood. "This is all any of us can do, Tyr. We cannot change the nature of the world. We can only change how we meet it, with resistance or with grace, with fear or with wisdom, with bitterness or with peace." "I choose peace," Tyr said. "Then you are ready," Kamaan replied. "Not because you will not feel afraid, not because you will not struggle, but because you understand that life is not meant to be controlled, only lived. And living, little arrow, means flying." In the darkness, Tyr settled into stillness. Not the stillness of refusal, but the stillness of preparation. Not the paralysis of fear, but the quiet of acceptance. Tomorrow he would fly. Tonight he would rest. And in that rest, he found something he had been seeking all along. Not the promise of safety, not the guarantee of a perfect flight, but the deep, abiding peace of one who has stopped fighting what cannot be changed, and has instead chosen to become the best version of what he already is. An arrow, made for flight, ready at last to meet the sky.